Hello everyone and welcome back to Basic Concepts of Math. And today what we're gonna do, we're gonna just continue with our concept of equation, and today we're gonna take a deep dive into understanding what are the types of equation. So let's not waste time and get started. So students, let's move further and quickly recall what do we mean by an equation. So equation is nothing but two mathematical statements which are equated or kept together with the help of an equal sign. So if there is an equal sign, that means it's an equation. So students, what if there is no equal sign? That's correct. That means that's an expression. Let's take few of the examples to understand it better. So as you can observe in the first example, 6x plus 2 is equals to 5. This is one expression, this is one expression, and both are equated with an equal sign. And you can go on with the different types of examples like 3x cubed plus 9x is equals to 120. So students, when we talk about all of these equations, are all these equations look similar? Yes or no? No students, so not all equations are similar. Therefore, we need to understand there are different types of equations. So let's not waste time and start understanding what are the types of equations. So when we talk about types of equations, we can broadly divide them into four types: linear equation, simultaneous equation, quadratic equation, and cubic equation. Let me tell you students, linear equation or simple types of equations starts from your 8th grade, whereas by the time you come in the 9th grade, you understand how to solve simultaneous equation. And by the time you reach your 10th grade, you have to solve quadratic equation. The cubic equations are studied by CBSE for a short span of time and just for their knowledge. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna today understand what does that mean, how are these equations, and how do we find out the solution. Though we are not gonna talk about what are the steps and how do we solve, but it's just an introduction to what are these types of equations. So let's get started with that. So what is a linear equation? If I have to tell you what is a linear equation in very simple words, linear equation is an algebraic equation in which each term has an exponent of 1 and the graph of the equation result in a straight line. Now as you can observe, there are two important terms, exponent and a graph. Now when we talk about an exponent, what is an exponent? Yes, students, you guys are correct. Exponent means the power. So let's take an example, students, over here. If you can see over here, there is an example of 2x plus 5 is equals to 9. Now, if we see what is the variable over here, yes, students, you guys are correct. X is the variable. Now, do x have any power, any index to it? Now, this index is nothing but the exponent. So, if there is no index to it, that means what is the index? The index is 1. So, can I say the exponent of this equation is nothing but 1? So, is it satisfying the rule? Yes, students, it is satisfying the rule, and that's how we understand that an exponent, what is an exponent and how does it helps to form an equation. So if the exponent is 1, that means it's a linear equation. So let's take this example. 2x plus 5 is equals to 9. So what if I move this 5 from this side to that side? Yes, the positive will become negative. 9 minus 5 is 4. 2 is in multiplication, so it will become division when it transfer to the next side. So you get x is equals to 2. Now, what about, sir, the second part which you said, graph, straight line, what does that mean? So students, to help you understand that part, what we are going to do, we are going to use a very simple and very useful app called GeoGebra. What this app do, this app help you to connect and understand what is the connection between algebra and geometry. So let's just see what was our equation. 2x plus 5 is equals to 9. So I'm going to type it down over here. 2x plus 5 is equals to 9. As soon as you put it like this, what do you observe? You observe a graph with a line. Now students, if you observe this graph carefully, you will be able to see that the line is passing through a point. What is this point? Let's try and understand. This is point 2. And what was our answer which we have got? X is equals to 2. So students, this is how the straight line is considered. So whenever there is a linear equation, when you solve and plot it on the graph, you will always have a straight line. If you don't have a straight line, that means there is some problem. So students, moving further. What are the types of linear equations? So students, there are different types of linear equation. Only we study two types. The very first type is called linear equation in one variable. Students, this you will study in your 8th grade. And we have just seen an example of it, and the graph look like something like that. There is only one line. But students, as soon as you move in your 9th grade, you have a chapter called linear equation in two variables. So what do you mean by two variables? Initially there was only x. Now you will have x as well as y. So sir, how this graph look like? So let's go and understand how the graph of this equation will look like. Let's remember the equation 5x plus 3y is equals to 50. So students, what do we observe? We observe that this equation or the line of this equation passes through 2 points. It is coinciding or passing through x-axis as well as y-axis. Now why is it so? The points which you guys can see right now over here is nothing but the solution of this equation. That means if you find out the value of this point and the value of this point and put it inside this equation, you will get that this part satisfies this part. So this is how, when you will do this in your 9th grade, you will always have to find out the value of x coordinate and y coordinate which will satisfy this equation. Though we are going to solve it like an algebraic way, but this is also a way to see and understand how does that work. So let's get back to our understanding. Therefore, how does the graph look like of this equation? It always passes through both the axes, x-axis or y-axis. Whereas linear equation in one variable always interact with only one axis, not multiple axes. Therefore, it only have one solution. Whereas you will over here have solution for x and solution for y. Moving further, so do you remember out of 4 types we have done with the linear equation? Now what was the second type? Yes student, that is nothing but simultaneous equation. Simultaneous equation we study in 9th as well as in 10th because that's very important and you will definitely have such kind of a question in your board as well. So let's understand what is a simultaneous equation. It's a set of equations, that means there could be 2 equations, 3 equations or whatever. Normally we have 2 equations. So it's a set of equations with 2 or more variables for which the value of the variable, that same value can satisfy both the equations simultaneously. That means let's understand what does that means with an example. So the example says that 5x plus 3y is equals to 22. So let's create this line on the graph. So I'm creating a new line on the graph. Let's recall. So 5x plus 3y is equals to 22. 5x plus 3y is equals to 22. That is our first equation. So we got the line right over here. Now since we have to create a new equation, let's create another equation. Okay, what was our second equation? 3x plus 5y is equals to 10. So we will have 3x plus 5y is equals to 10. So there you go, you have your second line or second equation. Now students, if you guys can observe carefully, both the lines are intersecting each other at the point 5 comma minus 1. Now students, you will be amazed. If you take this value 5 and minus 1, 5 is as a value of x and minus 1 as a value of y, and put it in the equation, you will realize this value can satisfy this equation as well as this equation. So that's what simultaneous equation means. When you will come in 9th grade and 10th grade, what you will do, you will solve this with the algebraic method to find out these 2 points only. Now you will be thinking, sir, why don't we have this app so that it can be solved like so quickly? But students, that's how we don't function. You require marks as well. So we'll see some complicated method as well as graphical method later. But this is how we solve. So if you just put the value of 5 instead of x and minus 1 instead of y, you will be able to get the value is equals to 22. And if you do it over here, you will get 10. So student, don't forget, try it at home so that you understand how does that function. Okay, so let's get back to our concept. So what we have understood with the graph. So graph was similar like, to this one where there is one single interaction point. and that's the point which give you the solution. So do remember, graph of such line intersect at a particular point, and that intersection point do have a value, obviously an x value and y value. If you put those value back to the simultaneous equations, it can satisfy all the equation. Maybe there are 2 equation, 3 equation, or so on. Moving further, after when we learn about simultaneous equation, we move toward the next type, which is quadratic equation. Now what does that mean? It's very easy, and that's the beauty of science and math, that every word have a meaning in it. So quad means square. So student, do remember, quad means square. An equation where the highest value of exponent or the degree is 2 or square is called as quadratic equation. Its general form look like this. Please student, do remember the general form. It's very common question for 1 mark. So ax square plus bx plus c is equals to 0. Let's see an example of it. So 2x plus 3x is equals to 5. Now how its graph will look like? So do you want to see that? How the graph will look like? So students, if you guys try to observe this one, you'll be able to see that this is not a straight line. This is a curved line, correct? Now let's observe this curved line. If you observe this curved line, you will be able to see that this line is intersecting with x-axis, then it is intersecting with y-axis, and then it is intersecting with x-axis once again. Let me just get it into the center so that it becomes easier for you to see. Yeah. So as you can observe, it is intersecting at multiple points. But when we talk about this kind of a equation, we have to talk about the value of x. So as you can observe, this equation or this line is passing twice from the x value or the x-axis. That means when you solve such equations, you will be able to find 2 values for the x. Let's go back and let's see how does that function. So the general equation or the graphical form is like this. As you can observe, it passes through x-axis twice, and that is the reason a quadratic equation can have maximum 2 solutions for x, because it is passing through 2 times from the x-axis. And if you simply want to find out what is the value of it, very simple, you just see the interaction point. That interaction point is nothing but your answer for the value of x. So this is how simple is this. So next type is cubic equation. Now students, can you think of what will be this equation? Last time was quadratic equation. Yes students, once you do square, you move to cube. Therefore the cubic equation have highest exponent as 3. So do remember and do write it down. The cubic expression will always have an exponent value as 3, and the general formula looks like this: ax cube plus bx square plus cx plus d is equals to 0. Let's take an example very quickly. So as you can see, the example is quite big: x cube plus 3x square and so on. So let's not waste time and see how does this look like on a graph. So let's plot this on a graph. So when you type it down over here and plot it, what do we observe? So basically it's curved lines, and since it's so big that you can't see it on the screen. But what do we observe? This one line which is moving like a wave is passing through the x-axis how many times? 1, 2 and 3. And that is the reason students, in this type of an equation, you will always have the equation or the line which is passing through the x-axis not once, not twice, but thrice. And therefore, such equations can have maximum 3 solutions. I hope students you have got this explanation and you are eager to learn more about it. Such type of a thing you're gonna learn and solve further in your 9th and 10th grade. There are different methods which you learn in your 9th and 10th grade to solve such equations. So students, let's see you in the next video. Till time, take care and keep learning.